The condition Revenant has been on my radar for a very long time now. It's even way before when I make the boon sharing build that I uploaded on YouTube roughly about 6-7 months ago. And the reason why I didn't make the condition Revenant was because it wasn't really that appealing to me until the patch coming out on the 16th of May 2017, which is recently. Yeah, and that in that patch they have decided to buff the Revenant like quite intensively to tackle the torment condition damage tab. And for that reason I decided to make this video right now, because that is part of my interest and because I have been looking at the condition damage of the Revenant for a very long time now. It's way before my 6-7 months ago when I made the build sharing for the Revenant. So I think that I have been looking at the condition damage for the Revenant for roughly about a year and a half now. So that's really long. I mean, like Hearthstones came out in, I think that at the end of 2015. Yeah, at the end of 2015. And I started to look at the condition damage of the Revenant was roughly about Jan or February of 2016. And now this is getting closer to June, so that's roughly about a year and a half already. So that's, I've been looking at the condition damage for Revenant for a really long time, and so it's because of part of my interest and because Revenant is still a young class. So the information that I have in here for you guys in this video could be wrong, and so if that was to be the case, I'd like you to give me a comprehensive feedback down in the comment section below, so that other people can see the benefit in it and other people can contribute that. So there's no better way than all of us contributing to the build itself, right? Together. So let's start it with the intro of the condition damage of the Revenant, and then I will be moving on to the specialization and so on and so forth. So the intro of the condition damage of the Revenant is that it's tailored to the legendary Demon Maliks. Demon Maliks, just giving you a little bit of a background. Demon Maliks came from Guild Wars 1. And the expansion campaign was called Nightfall, which is it belonged to a domain of anguish, and it was actually one of the hardest elite contents that I have ever played. And I do have a love and hate relationship with this guy, and so seeing this guy again, it just brings back so much memory. So this is one of the lieutenants, and I don't want to spoil too much, but he was one of the lieutenants to one of the gods in Guild Wars 1. So yeah, if you're interested in knowing more about him, feel free to check out on the Wikipedia, and that will give you a lot more information. So the legendary Demon Maliks stand will be tailored to the condition damage, and in particular the condition Revenant has the ability to apply 3 condition damage tabs. The first one is the torment. Torment is your main condition damage tab. All of the skill of the condition Revenant will be tailored to torment. Second to that one is the poison. Poisons, you can only have the poisons from two attributes. The first one is your mace. Your mace skill, the last hit of your mace will apply poisons. And if you select the attribute on the corruption specialization, which I'll be getting into that in a second, in the specialization sections, then you can exchange all, like whenever you apply the torment condition damage tab onto your enemies, you will apply the poison also, and that is really good because now you can treat poisons to be your main condition damage tab. And the last one is burning. Burning is you can constantly apply the burning condition damage tab if you select the infernal attribute, the last attribute of the corruption specializations. So yes, the condition damage of the Revenant does provide you with the ability to inflict 3 condition damage tabs, and they are all good. Now, torment has a limitations. Torment is very effective against moving target. If your target enemy is stationed in a single spot and not moving, you will lose out that damage. And so that is the reason why in my specializations sections of this video, I will explain to you sometimes it is better for you to swap to swap your attribute a bit, because sometimes the targets will be moving, like constantly moving. In that case, then yes, torment is more effective against those targets compared to either poisons or burning. But other times, venom, which is poisons, and burning will be more effective to the targets that are not moving around a lot, and I will tackle that one in the specialization sections. So yes, that is the intro for the condition damage of the Revenant, and let's move on to the specializations. Alright, so let's start out with the specializations. But before I'm moving on to the specialization, let me just repeat myself. There are 3 condition damage types that the Revenant can deal to the target. The first one is the torment. Torment is your main condition damage. Second one is the poison, and the third one is the burning. So with those 3, there are some scenario that torment will be more effective against a particular target. So as you can see in here, that the torment would deal extra damage if the target is moving. Now if the target is stationed at a single spot, so in general PvE, you will notice that there are a lot of bosses out there, champion, they were just standing on a single spot and not moving. In that case, the torment is not really that effective against that kind of target. Instead, the poison, which is coming from your venom enhancement, and the burning would deal will be a better condition damage against those sorts of targets. And because of that, it depends on the scenario, so you have to swap around. All right, so with that out of the way, I would like to move on to the specialization right now, starting off with the invocations, and then I will move on to the corruptions, and then I'll finish it off with the herald. Now for the invocations, I have the first one, repercussions. When one of my attacks is negated, my next attack will deal bonus damage. The next one is equilibrium. Now I do have the options of swapping between equilibrium and the respawn. Now the reason why I pick with the equilibrium is because I prefer to just swap to my legendary from time to time, so that it's part of my rotation, but it can also increase my boons, sorry, not increase my boon, but applying the boons to myself, and I'll get onto that in a second. So equilibrium is something that I prefer, but you know, if you prefer to have something else, so for example in this one right here, I would use that from time to time as well, but again it depends on the scenario. The reason why sometimes I prefer to swap to the respawn is because whenever I have the fury, so let's say that I swap my legendary, this effect kicks in, it will give me the fury. Whenever it gives me the fury, then I will have the might applied to myself. So that is really good when I'm, you know, soloing a heart or doing an event by myself. So in that case, I don't have a lot of people around me, right? For that reason, I prefer to increase my might stacks as high as possible, because might is a boon that will give me power increase and also condition damage increase, and the more I have, the more damage that I will deal to my enemies. And at the maximum amount of 25 stacks, it will increase my stats a lot, and that's something that I prefer. But alternatively, you know, having equilibrium, whenever I invoke a legend, if my energy below the threshold, this is my energy right here, if it's below 50%, then I will be healing myself. If I have more than 50%, I will deal damage to the enemy when I invoke my legendary. So just for your information, you have the option to go with equilibrium, but you also have the option to go with the respawn. So it's entirely up to you which one you prefer. For the last one, critical chance has increased effectiveness when you are under effect of the fury. Now legendary dragon stand, which is Glint, she does this according to the law. She's the dragon, and I don't want to spoil too much in here, but she does provide you with the ability to apply boons into yourself from invoking her legends, and one of the effect is to give you fury. And the effectiveness of the fury, the combination of that plays out really well with this one right here. and it also increase your damage and condition damage to targets when you have the Fury. So as you can see in here, damage increased by 7%, and to top it off, whenever you swap your legendary around, you also apply extra Fury on top as well and increase that duration. Now, this combination doesn't stop here. That is because in the next specialization, in the Corruption Threadlight, the first one, Rampage, Vex, critical hits have a chance to cause torment, and like I said, torment is one of your condition damage tabs, and it is the main condition damage tab for the condition Revenant. And because of that, the more that you deal critical hit on an enemy, the more chance for you to inflict the torment. And as you can see in here, this one, critical chance have increased effectiveness when you're under the Fury, and that increase your condition damage by 7%. And to further add on to that one, you have the options to cause more torment on your critical hit on target enemies. And so you can see that combination plays out really well. Alright, so let's talk about the condition damage tab. As I said, torment is very effective against moving target, but if the target is static or stable or whatever you want to call it, like it's not moving anywhere, in that case, I'm just going to use the term, static from now on. So if the target is static, right? So what happens for that is that you will lose the damage from the extra bonus damage from the torment. So 150, for example, in this case, right? When you apply a single stack of torment, that's 77 damage. But if the target is moving, then you have the option to deal 153 damage. But if the target is not moving, you only deal 77 damage, only 77, and that is really low compared to a single stack of poison. As you can see in here, poison will apply 252 damage straight off the bat, right? As you can see in here, when you plus these two together, 77 plus 153, that is roughly about I can't do on my the math on my head right now. So that's roughly about what, 225 ish, 220. Let's say 240. Yeah, how does that sound? Yeah, 240. So even with the damage, if the target is moving in general PvE, 240 is not that effective compared to 250 right the bait right here. And to further add on to that one, the burning does provide you with a lot of ability, a lot of damage when it is applied on a single target. So the burning stack, as you can see in here, 2 stacks provide you with 1000 damage roughly. Okay, so 1040 damage, right? So 1 stack will be half of that, so it's roughly about like 525 ish, something. Yeah, so 500 damage for 1 stack. So burning has the most damage out of all of the condition damage. And it's not a surprise because I have been mentioning this for a very long time now. Burn condition damage is the strongest condition damage tab in across all of the condition damage. However, torment is very effective against moving targets. So imagine if the target is constantly moving, then more bonus damage will deal on that target, and that is the reason why you have to adjust your corruption specializations to fit with that particular target, and particular scenario. If the target is moving a lot, use torment from changing your specialization, which I'll be getting into that in a second. If the target is static, then in that case go with the setup and apply burning and venom on that target, right? So yeah, obviously I'm using the venom enhancement. Whenever I apply torment, I also apply poison. Poison lasts longer. So yeah, so it's like, treating the venom and like the poison condition damage tab to be your main condition damage tab, because whenever you apply torment, you also apply the venom as well. So you have both main condition damage tabs, and on top of that you also have the burning as well. So that plays out really nice. So the more condition damage tab you have, the more damage you deal, right? So there's no reason for not selecting it. Now in the next specialization right here, I have 2 setup for you. The first one, if you know that your target is moving a lot, in that case, swaps to this anguish increase damage for every condition damage currently on you, and swap this one to the Maniac. Now this one, Persistence, lash out when you gain resistance, inflicting torment on yourself and nearby foes. Yes, you read that right. You will inflict the torment on yourself and the nearby foe. Now you will be questioning me like, why are you why do you select this? Isn't that like inflicting torment on yourself and you keep on moving? Isn't that bad? Yes, you will have an increase in damage for every condition damage currently on you, because the bonus damage per condition is 3%. Yes, you read that right. But applying the torment on yourself is also bad. Yes, I'm fully aware of that. And that is the reason why you have the pain absorptions from the legendary Demon Maliks right here. That utility, well, this utility right here will provide you with a resistance, and the resistant conditions currently on you are ineffective and stacked durations. So that means your condition damage that you inflicted on yourself are ineffective. Yeah, and that means you do have the bonus damage, and the more torment that you apply onto yourself, the more damage you would deal to target enemies. Yeah, with the combination of this, you have to use this. If you don't use this, then it would deal a tons of damage to you. So use this carefully. Right now, I can see that it does have a lot of potential in World v War, because in World v War you're gonna be fighting with a group and people keep on moving around. But again, my experience in World v War is not really that strong, and because of that I prefer not to comment any further, but I can see the potential it has in the World v War environment. But again, I don't play World v War that much, and so I prefer not to comment further, because I haven't tested in that environment, and given that my knowledge is quite limited in that game mode. So this is all I can say for now. Yeah. Now, if you are in the in the PvE, and you know that the mobs, most of the mobs in PvE are moving anyway, but sometimes you will encounter some of the mobs that just standing still, like they're being static. In that case, then torment are not really that effective. Yes, you do have the extra damage, but again, you don't have a lot of the bonus damage coming from the the requirement which is moving. So in that case, I think it will be safer for you to swap to the burning. So burn nearby foe when you use an elite skill, and you swap this one to whenever you apply a shield to a foe, you will inflict torment on them. So that shield coming from your 4th skill, which is right here. And when you swap to your other's weapons, so from time to time I keep a hammer with me just for the range effect. Otherwise, I prefer to use a stab for extra CC. So I'll get into the weapon later on. But yeah, for now, if you are doing in general PvE and you know that the boss or the champion is static, standing still in one spot, in that case I would highly recommend you to swap to the Inferno, because you will burn the nearby foe when you use an elite skill. And to further add on to this one, your elite skill right here, it is a elite that consume your energy. So whenever you activate this one right here, right, it just keep on pumping up the damage to the nearby foes, and then applies torment as well. So whenever you have this one right here, you also apply the burning as well. So that's really good in general PvE when you are facing a lot of mob at the same time, and you can constantly apply the burning onto the target. And that's precisely why in general PvE I would prefer to use this instead of the Maniac, because the Maniac is applying torment. Yes, it does deal a lot of damage on moving targets, but most of the time mobs are being statics. Sometimes they just standing there, apply a little bit of skill, and with limited amount of movement. In that case, it will be much safer for you to use the Inferno instead of the Maniac. That is my personal preference, and I'm just giving you the options. So again, let me summarize. You do have the options to tackle again a scenario. If scenario 1, if the target is moving around a lot, in that case, swap to this setup to apply more torment. If the target has limited amount of movement or being static in a single spot, in that case, swap to this setup to apply burning, and also have this one to apply extra chill onto the target, which turn into torment. Now alternatively, I'm also looking at this one right here, banish enchantment, because whenever you use the enchantment, when striking a foe that has boon equal to or greater than a threshold, you apply confusion and removes the boons from your target. And the enchantment banish is coming from this one right here. Now again, it depends on the scenario. Sometimes you would need to remove the boon on a single target, sometimes you don't, but I prefer to have this one because I know for the fact that I will be swapping my I will be applying a lot of chill to onto the target, and I prefer to reserve my energy. The main important point of me using this one over this one is because I prefer to reserve my energy so that I can constantly applying the torment and the burning from my elite. That's just my personal preference. But if you feel that the mobs or the boss they have a lot of boons on them, in that case, I would highly recommend you to swap to the banish enchantment and remove the boons and apply confusion on top as well. So you do have a minor condition damage tab, which is confusion, but the 3 main condition damage tabs of the condition Revenant is torment, venom, and burning. So as you can see in here, that the condition Revenant does have a lot of option for you to swap around and to tackle certain scenario. So that is very nice from to see a class that is able to tackle different scenario. And I can see that it does have a lot of potential for future use, but again, I haven't tested in the World v World environment or PvP, so I can't really comment on that. But in PvE, I would prefer to use this setup most of the time. Alternatively, I can swap to this one if the boss or the champions, they have boons, a lot of boons on them. In that case, I will swap to this to remove that boon, but otherwise I will be using this setup to apply extra burning and torment onto the target. Now let's move on to my last specializations, the Herald. Now a lot of people ask me like, why are you using the Herald instead of the other one? Well, let me just give you a couple of my views of the devastation. So if you look at that one right here, the devastation is more tailored to a physical damage, and that is in line with the legendary assassin stance, which is Shiro Takachi. This guy came from Guild Wars 1. He was the main villain of Guild Wars 1 expansion called Faction Campaign, and most of the specialization attribute in here are tailored to the use of getting away. So skill that disable foe, increases the target below the threshold, and also siphon the life form when you are attacking the target from behind or on the side. So none of that, no attributes in here that can actually benefit the condition damage. If you look at this one right here, it increases the ferocity of nearby allies, so that increase the physical damage, because ferocity increase critical damage, not critical chance. And so if you can see in here, increase ferocity, wielding a sword, but your main weapon will be a mace, because mace does provide you with the ability to apply the torment. So as you can see in here, I don't consider the devastation in my equations because it does not benefit the condition damage. Now let's move on to salvation. The salvation is actually for your heal, because this one utilize the Centaur Ventari. This is the creator of the Silvery race. Yes, I understand that the Dragon Motormoth is the creator of the Silvery race, but the legendary Centaur Ventari in Guild Wars 1 at the end of the Eye of the North campaign, he was the one that actually planted the seed and it's create the pear tree. So that pear tree later on create chivalry race. So in a sense, Centaur Ventari is more like a father, or depending on which angle you look at it, he's the one that helped creating chivalry race. Yes, Mordremoth was the first to create, and also they implemented the mindset of the chivalry and trying to control them. But Centaur Ventari was also the one who planted the seed and create the pear tree and subsequently create the rest of the chivalry race. So in a sense that he was part of the creation as well. And for that reason, in my personal view, I think of him as a father to the chivalry race as well, not just Mordremoth. And he is more of a healing specializations, because healing done, healing done, and healing fragment, and also increase outgoing healing. So for that reasons, I don't see the point to go with the salvations. Now the last one, retributions. This one will use the legendary dwarf stand, Dwarf King Chalice Iron Hammer. Now, just to give you a little bit of a background of the Chalice Iron Hammer, he was in Guild Wars 1 as well, and he was the guy in the Out of the North campaign, which is the last expansion of Guild Wars 1. He was the one that turned the rest of the dwarf race into stone to fight against the fire dragon. I just completely forgot the name of the fire dragon on top of my head right now. Primordus, yes, yeah, the name just popped up. Primordus. He was the one that turned every single one of the dwarf race into every person in the dwarf race into a stone to fight against Primordus of in underground, and that stopped the invasion of the destroyers. And so he was the one that turned everybody into stone. So in his specialization retributions, it is actually reduce the damage, and also like increase your protections and like retaliation and so on and so forth. So for that reasons, in general PvE, I don't see the need to go for this one. But if you are doing PvP or if you're doing World v War, I think that it has a potential to look into it further. But again, this video is about general PvE, and for that reasons, I don't use the retributions. So that leaves the Herald. Now the Herald does have the ability to provide you with the increase in damage, bonus damage per boon on you, but it does also provide you with the ability to share the boon to your allies, so you apply the might to your allies as well. But the main reason why I want to use the Herald is because whenever you swap to the Herald legendary stand, right, you do have the ability to permanently apply the swiftness, and swiftness in open map events, it shorten the length of travel, because you have the swiftness increase your movement speed by 33%, and that's something that I prefer in open map content. Every single one of them, I prefer to have the swiftness, so that I don't have to spend a lot of time to travel from one place to the other. And also when you apply on this one right here, and if you drop this one onto a spot, it does AoE damage, and when it does AoE damage, it deals 3 stacks of burning condition damage, and that's really good when you are trying to fight against a group of mob. To further add on to this one, you do have the ability to use these Faces of Strength to apply the might onto yourself, and also apply the fury onto yourself as well. And as you can see in here, the combination between this one, when you swap to Clint, you apply a lot of boons onto yourself, and that subsequently increase your critical chance, effectiveness of your critical chance from the fury, increase your damage from that one combinations, and then it increase the torment ability to apply onto the target. Further add, before I go back to the Malix, is because you can apply the protection onto yourself as well, and protections reduce the incoming damage by 33%, and that stacks duration. So if you play it well, then it does provide you with a lot of boons and protections. And when you run out of, so for example, right, when you run out of your energy, you can always turn this one off right here, to give you a whole stack of, you know, might, boons, everything before, like, you know, before you swap onto your into your Malix legendary demons, and you still can maintain a decent amount of boons onto yourself, and that will increase your damage. So that was my intention. Right, so I have made another video in regard to the boon of the Revenant, and the combinations of, I mean actually the rotation that I prefer to use is I always keep this one up. It's because this one increase my boon duration by 33%. So technically you can keep this one up for, you know, a couple of seconds or so. I usually keep it up for like, you know, 10 or 20 seconds when I'm doing open maps, so that it gives me enough, you know, sufficient amount of boons onto myself. So as you can see in here, it reduces like, you know, really fast, but that will increase that amount to, you know, when I finish that one off, that's 13, right? When I have 13, I swap to Malix, and then I pump up with my Elite, and combined with that, I would deal quite a decent amount of damage to my enemies, and that is my intentions. All right, now let's talk about the utility and the weapon skill. As you can see in here, I select Mace as my main weapon because Mace constantly apply torment, and also the last hit of the Mace will give you the poisons. The second one, when you smash onto the cow, that's your AoE, yeah, and it does have a very short cooldown as well as the result of the new patch. So you can constantly like apply the AoE effect, and it's really good for you as well. Oh, and to further add onto this one, you can apply this and give you might. You know, you don't really have to swap back to legendary glint. You can just pop this one off when it's off cooldown when you're in the Malix. So that's another thing that I like to add as well. So let's go back to the weapon skill. So you can constantly apply the AoE burning onto the target enemies in an area like this, and that is really good in combination of this one as well. So you can apply a lot of burning to the target, and it does have 4 pulses, and the number of target is 5, so that really good. And the last one, leave out at your target, and that's also your AoE as well, and the number of impacts is 3, and it does provide you 5 stack of torment, and as I already mentioned to you earlier, 5 stack of torment. If you have this one, that's another 5 stacks of poison. So as you can see in here that the condition Revenant does have the ability to apply a lot of stacks for your condition damage, poisons, torment, and burning. Yeah, and not to mention you do have the ability to have the CC skill as well from your Rift, and also from soft CC skill from your sword, sorry, not your sword, your axe skill 4, right? So this is the thing, the weapon you do have two, I usually keep 2 weapons on me. The first one is the hammer for range attack. Other than that, I also use the staff because the staff does provide a lot of CC, and I mentioned this one in my boon condition, sorry, not boon condition, but boon support Revenant. The staff does provide you with the ability to charge forward, knocking back enemies that cross your path, and that the number of impacts is 8, and it does deal a lot of damage to the CC bar of the enemy. CC stands for crowd control, and that in the Hearthstone expansions, a lot of mobs will have CC bar. It's a blue bar underneath the mobs, so if you can break it, you would deal a lot of damage to the mob as well. But it also, some of the mechanic require you to break the CC bar, so you need to keep that in mind. So because of that, I prefer to use the combination between mace, axe, and my second weapon set is the staff. And the staff, you know, you don't really have to have the staff to be, you know, of condition based, which is vipers or rampagers or anything like that, because like the purpose of the staff is just for CC. For that reason, I don't see the need for you to spend, if you're on the budget, right? I don't feel like you need to spend a lot of money to acquire a condition damage staff. You can just use any a cheap budget staff like the one rare, and that's good to go for CC. But for your main weapon, I would highly recommend you to get a proper condition damage weapon. So Rampage condition damage attribute. So Rampagers, Vipers, which I will tackle into the gears in a second. So yeah, and the rotation for the CC, I usually use first. I apply the skill 4 first because it does provide me with a soft CC skill from the chill. So I need to have the target to apply that. But the combination is 4 and then 5. 5 will pull all of the target into that one, and it does provide me with the ability to CC the target. Once that one done, I swap around right into my staff, and I will apply the skill 5, which will deal a lot of damage to the CC bar. So that is my combinations. And also to further add as well, the staff does provide me with the ability to block incoming damage to myself, and as you can see in here, it just keep on blocking, and the more damage that they shooting at me, I can block them more. And that's something that I prefer to have the staff over the hammer. That's just my preference, but I do keep a hammer with me when I need to range the target from afar. Alright, so let's move on to the utility. I already talked about the utility of the Dragon Stand, so I'm not going to go back and talk about that again. So for the utility of the Maliks, you do have the ability to apply Torment and Chill, which is, Chill will convert into Torment from this one. So you do have 3 stacks. So 2 stacks from Chill plus 1 stack from your skill, so that's 3 in total. Yeah, see, 2 Torment stack per Chill, and 2 Torments once you apply the Chill on the target, and plus the Torment, so that's 3 in total. And this one I already explained that. The next one I already explained already, and the last one, Elite. Elite does have a lot of damage in it, and so that's why I prefer to have the Inferno right here, as I already mentioned. So I think it will be a good example for me to swap to the PvP arena, so that I can show you what this effect is about. And also, it does provide you with the ability to have 10% of own stat as well, so that's really good. So just let me swap into the PvP arena, and I will demonstrate to you what do I mean by applying a lot of burning condition damage to nearby foes. So be right back in 1 second. Alright, so we are in the arena PvP, and the reason for that is because simple. I don't want to be distracted by mobs coming out of nowhere and start attacking me in the middle of the open map. And also the target golems in here will be a good practice for me to show you why I would prefer the other setup instead of having this setup right here. Lash out the torment when you can resistant, inflicting torment on yourself and the nearby foe. So remember, this one, whenever you have the resistance, you apply 4 stacks of torment, and that will increase your bonus condition damage. But you do lose out your burning condition damage from the Inferno. And so I'll give you an example for that one as well. So as you can see in here, that you apply the resistance onto yourself, right? And that will inflict the enemy with torment whenever you gain resistance, which is coming here. There are 4 stacks, as you can see in here. But the thing is that you have to keep on getting your resistance right like this, right? So it's not really constant in regard to constantly applying your burning condition damage that can constantly dealing damage to the enemy over time. So as I said, I see that it has potential in the general in the 1v1 environment, but for PvE, general PvE, I don't see much of a use for this one, because the other one, you can just pop your elite skill, and that will constantly dealing damage, burning condition damage to the enemies. And so let me just give you let me just apply that again so you can see it for yourself. So if I apply elite onto this, I don't have the burning, yeah, and if I use this one, I can only use it 2 times. So that's like so that's only 4 stacks, of torment onto myself. And yeah, it's only 4 stacks of torment onto myself, because every time when you get the resistance, you only have 1 set of resistance. Yeah, it doesn't stack at all. Okay, so let's just wait until this one reaches 100%. then I pop it 2 times for you to see if the resistance stacks. Okay, so apply 1, apply 2. As you can see here, it doesn't stack. It's only stack durations. It does not stack in the number, and that is losing stacks of torment. Right, now you have 4 stacks of torment and increase damage for every condition currently on you. So if you apply only just this, your damage will only account for these. So you are not dealing constant damage to the enemy, and that's something that I don't like for general PvE. I can see that it does have potential for World v War, and it also does have a potential for certain kind of of targets as well. So if the target's constantly moving, then yes, I can see that it does have the potential. However, in general PvE, when you are dealing with a large group of mob, I would prefer this setup instead. And let me just give you an example why I prefer this one instead, so you can be the judge for yourself. So I'm just gonna increase the amount of my energy to 100%, and so that will give me more time to display the elite. So I'm not gonna go and use any other skill, right? I'm just gonna stand here by myself and apply just this elite skill. I'm just gonna apply just that. You watch. So at the moment, you can see that I applying 3 condition damage tab, and that's constantly applying to the enemies around me. So that's burning 680, torment 600, 700, 800, or keep on pumping up. See, 1000, and then occasionally I apply the poison as well. So whenever I apply the torment, also apply poison. Poison lasts longer. So as you can see in here that poisons, torment, and burning. So overall, you can constantly apply to a large amount group rather than just relying on this one. And that's something that I prefer strictly for general PvE. So when you're doing the open map contents, meta events, in particular meta events, so Dragon Stand, Auric Basin, Tango Death, and Verdant Brick, then this one will come in handy. And that's something that I prefer. Obviously, I'm just giving you an option. You do have a choice. If you prefer to have the other one, by all means, I'm not going to force you to play the way I am playing. I am giving you my view on the build at the moment. And also, to further add into the specialization before I close out the video, is this one right here. Gain might when you use a skill that drop your energy below the threshold. So from time to time, I also consider using this as well. But I prefer to have a critical chance because it does provide me with the extra torment. But when needed, you can swap to this one. And when you use a skill, which is again applying the torment, right? And then you use a skill right here, and then it gives you a 3 stacks. But I would prefer to just constantly applying my elite so that I can keep on burning the target around me rather than activating my skill in the middle of nowhere and reduce my energy for just that skill. That's just my preference. I'm just giving you the option for you to pick on, to tackle a certain scenario. So overall, I look forward for your feedback about these specializations, and just feel free to leave me down in the comment section below. So I will be moving on to the equipment right now, and then I'm going to close off the video. So the equipments and the weapons and so on and so forth. In the past, I have made a video. Most of my videos anyway, I put in maximizing your damage options, and then the other one is the budget options. But moving forward from now on, maximizing damage term is actually subjective based on the condition damage. As you can see in here that the condition damage of the Revenant, right, is very effective for the torment to apply it against a moving target, or like constantly moving target. But if you are facing a static mob that just keep on standing still and not moving, then you will be losing that bonus damage. So moving forward, so going forward from now on, it is very subjective for me to actually put in, just like, okay, this is the maximum damage option, just go for it. No, because it's very subjective on when you applying the condition damage on a particular target. Yeah, so going forward from now on, I'm going to use the term recommendations and the budget. Recommendation is something that I would use, and the budget option is something that, you know, if you're on a strict budget, if you want to just try the class out, I mean try to build out without, you know, spending a lot of money, then in that case feel free to go ahead and try the budget option. Right, now my recommendation is this. Because the Revenant has the ability to apply 3 condition damage types, burning, torment is the main, venom, which is poisons, can also be your main as well, only if you if you select the venom enhancement, which I did anyway. So poisons and torment will be your 2 main condition damage types, and the last one, which is the burning, if you select the infernal attribute in the corruption threat line. So those 3. And you know, occasionally you have a very minor condition damage type as well, which is confusion, but I ignore that because it's not really, you know, it's not really something significant to be considered. So anyway, so you can apply 3 condition damage types, and the runes that I prefer to use, I give you 2 options. The first one is Superior Rune of Berserker. It is manageable. It doesn't, you know, cost a lot of money if you have materials lying around. So you know, that one increase your condition damage power, but it can also like increase your base percentage damage, which is physical damage, by 5% and 5% of condition damage. Either you go with that, or you have the second option, which is going for, if you do dungeons a lot, for those people who do dungeons a lot, I know that you have some of these spare. 4 Superior Rune of the Nightmare and 2 Superior Rune of the Trapper. That also works too. So again, my recommendations, either you go with Superior Rune of the Berserker, or you go with the option of 4 Superior Rune of the Nightmare and 2 Superior Rune of the Trapper. Right, now for the equipment attribute, I'd recommend, for the recommendations, I prefer to go with the full vipers. Right, full vipers, everything vipers for that one. And the rune I already mentioned. For the weapons, you have a variety of options. Which one you want to which one you prefer to use? For me, I would use full vipers for my weapons as well, mace and axe for my main weapon. And for the secondary weapon, you don't really have to go with the full viper option for the staff. For the hammer, yeah, if you want to use like the vipers, that's fine, but if you want to use the rampagers or any other budget option, that's fine also. But the main weapons are like, you know, the mace and the axe, I would prefer to use. For my recommendations, I would prefer to use the vipers options. Now for the sigil, I would recommend for you to go with the superior sigil of there are variety of options. If you're on the budget, right, superior sigil agony superior sigil of what was it, smoldering, which is increase your burning condition damage, and superior sigil of venom, which is increase your condition damage, condition duration, sorry, not condition damage, condition duration for the poisons. Superior sigil of smoldering increase your condition duration for the burning condition damage tab. And alternatively, you can also use the superior sigil of geomancy, which is whenever you swap your legendaries and then you swap your weapons around, you can apply the bleeding on top as well. But to me, I don't see the point of going with the superior sigil of geomancy. I would prefer myself to be using the venom and also the smoldering, because increasing burning condition damage, right, durations, and also the poison condition durations. So that's something that I would prefer to use. I also put out a list of all the recommendations for this issue as well, so feel free to pick any one of them in this video. Now, another thing, I don't recommend using the rune for the I don't recommend using the sigil that increase your duration for the torment or apply extra damage for the torment. The reason for that is because they are very expensive. Unless you're doing the, unless you know that you are going to be using that on the target that is keep constantly moving, and you know that you are going to be using you're going to be using that a lot in that scenario, then in that case I would recommend using the torment, Sigil, and the Rune. But they are, keep that in mind that they are very expensive, and that's not something that even I would use on a regular basis. And that's just my personal preference. I'll put the list down onto you and my recommendation on why I don't use it and why I use certain ones onto this video. Now moving on into the budget options. For the budget options, this is what I recommend for you to use. For the budget option, I prefer to go with the Rampagers. The reason why I prefer to go with the Rampagers is because it does have a precision stat, which is increase your critical chance. It's simple as that. And for the budget rune, there are several ones that you can use. Now, because it is a budget, you have to pick your main condition damage tab. Now again, I don't recommend for you to go with the rune that increase your torment damage, because that rune is very expensive, and so that's something that even for the budget option is way out of the bank budget. And so that's just my preference, but if you want to use it, I'm not gonna stop you. But in my personal opinion, for the budget options, I would go for the poisons only. And the reason for that is because, like, you know, you treat the poison as your single source of damage. And so I would recommend, if you do dungeons a lot, I would highly recommend for you to go with the superior rune of ore. Or if you don't do dungeons, in that case, then you can buy off the superior rune of Ratasum on the market, which is fairly cheap. But I also have another option for you, is to go with the burning condition damage tab, which is superior rune of Balthazar. But yeah, that my preference is that I go for the Venom, because I treat Venom as my single, you know, the main damage tab, and torment is second, and the same with the burning. But if you want to make the burning to be your main condition damage tab, then in that case you can go with the superior rune of Balthazar, and for the Sigil, just go with the Sigil of Smoldering. And for the budget Sigil, just go with the Sigil of the Venom if you want to go with the poisons. So I'm just giving you an option right here, and on the video itself, when I'm editing, I'll put out the list as well, so that you have the option to choose from. Alright, so that concludes this video. I hope that it does provide you with some of my view on the condition damage build of the Revenant. And if you have any feedback for me, feel free to give it down to me in the comment section below. I know that this video is quite lengthy, but I'd like to do a comprehensive video for the condition Revenant, because it has been on my radar for a very long time now, and so that's why I prefer to give you my full view and my logic behind that. Obviously I can be wrong, and so feel free to correct me down in the comment section below, so that I can adjust and fix the video to reflect when better information coming in. So again, enjoy, have fun, I will see you later.